I spend a little too much time actually sort of giving a shit about what people think.
I wanted to mention something that Cheryl told me. She said, sometimes I don't feel he understands his power or worth in a given moment.
Well,
what do you think?
Brian says a similar thing to me sometimes. You know, I mean, I have a lot of pride in what I've accomplished, and it means a lot to me. And people's respect means a lot to me. I feel that I've earned it, but there's something about this business that I cannot take that status thing all that seriously. I don't know if it's because I grew up in a household of workaday actors who didn't have that kind of status, or whether it's I just recognize that it's a way of life. There's a lot of showmanship. There's a lot of hype. I sort of refuse to invest too much in status or rankings or whatnot.
My dad has never been one of the cool kids. He's a really decent, earnest, sweet guy, and that's how he presents. He's also brilliant, edgy, brave. He's all these things that are usually associated with the cool kids, but because he doesn't lead with that, he seems like he might be a little simple. And because of that, I think he constantly feels like he needs to prove himself with his work. He's always pushing the medium forward, always. And yet, because he is such a humble person, and he always says we instead of I, but he's so inclusive and collaborative, he doesn't ever want to take credit for when it works. And yet, if it doesn't, he will absorb that blame.
I think that notion of what have you done for me lately is central to this business, because the dynamics of making anything good, of creatively realizing the potential of a project, it demands excellence in the moment. And experience factors into that. You know, pedigree and brand value can help in the marketing, but it doesn't help in the creation of a moment that is going to be memorable. I want to rely on my experience and trust it and trust my own instincts, because at the end of the day, a filmmaker has to do that. But I never want that to shift over into a laziness, a kind of intellectual laziness. And
that concerns you? That
concerns me. That you can have so much experience behind you that you begin to say, well, in this situation, here's what we do: ga-bing, ga-bung, ga-boom, and then the scene's over and we got it. And you know, I have that kind of. I can be glib about that kind of creative problem solving, but I don't want to fall into that trap. And I also love engaging collaborators. So sometimes it's not really insecurity. Sometimes it's, I know what I have to offer. What do you have? What do you got? Who? You? You know, please speak up.
Yeah.
And let's elevate my game. Let's elevate our game. Because I always have my instinct to fall back on. I'm thrilled, so excited when a better idea comes along. And I think people enjoy working with me for that reason.
I think Ron has a healthy perspective on things. Mm-hmm. You know, I think Ron, you know, a little bit of doubt goes a long way. I think Ron's got a really beautiful blend of confidence and observed frigging where he is and where his place in the world. I personally wish Ron would have a little better sense of self-victory. You know, Ron is a Hall of Famer.
What makes him the Hall of Famer to you?
Ron has a tremendous consistency. You know, Ron also has not let up. He loves to tell stories. He loves to explore things and deliver that exploration to the public. you got to remember, he was Opie. And when he was 13 or 14 years old, and he was still Opie, and he wanted to do something else, and he got this idea, he got this dream to make movies, to be a director, to be a John Ford, to be a Frank Capra. The vibe out there was, are you kidding? Opie doesn't become a director, you know? And Ron fought that. Ron fought that inside and out.
Ron said the quality about himself that he most deplores is the emotional reliance for other people's approval. God. How do you see that come out in him?
Well, he's a pleaser. You know, he's making movies for big audiences. And so he wants to please the bigger part of the bell curve. You know what I mean? And in order to do that, he tests the movie every week. He'd build the engine and take the engine apart in order to make sure that he's getting optimizing every bit of what the intention of the movie is.
I spend a little too much time actually sort of giving a about what people think. And
in what ways?
Look, what the critics have to say about a movie or a TV show, you know, it affects the future and the viability of that on a kind of commercial level. But to get lost in that, it just dissipates your energy. I do kind of kick myself when I allow those insecurities that in a way fuel my drive, continue to fuel my ambition. You know, if it begins to cloud my thinking too much, then it's in the way, and it's not fuel anymore. It's creating a barrier.